lecture will give an overview of major and minor errors. This will likely be the only place in the course that you see all of these errors defined with examples and corrections all in one place. So I will be posting this as one of our extra resource documents, so you're welcome to refer back to it as often as you need to. The first major error is a comma splice. A comma splice is when you have incorrectly joined two or more independent clauses with just a comma. So in our example, the weather looks better today, it was snowing yesterday. The comma should either be a semicolon, a comma and a conjunction, or a period. Your final correction has changed the sentence to a complex sentence by adding although, which is a subordinating conjunction. So this correction changes one of the independent clauses to dependent, although the weather looks better today, and then an independent clause, it was snowing yesterday. The next major error is a run-on or a fuse sentence. Instead of having a comma to combine the two sentences, a run-on has no punctuation at all, as you can see in your example. So you can use much of the same kinds of corrections. You can do a semicolon, a comma, and a coordinating conjunction, or change one of the independent clauses to a dependent clause and make it a complex sentence. Another type of major error is a sentence fragment. A sentence has to have a subject, a verb, and make complete sense standing alone to be an independent clause. So your sentence fragment is just a dependent clause without the rest of the sentence. Your example, I wanted to go to the movie on Friday night because it had received excellent ratings. Because it had received excellent ratings is not a complete thought by itself. So you can combine that with an independent clause, as you see in the first correction, to make a complex sentence. You can rearrange it to still have a complex sentence, but the because section, the dependent clause, is in the second half of the sentence in the second correction. Or you can just make it a sentence on its own by taking off the subordinating conjunction at the beginning, shortening because it had received excellent ratings to the movie received excellent ratings. Another often overlooked major error is subject-verb disagreement. We're going to go over verbs separately, so again, this is just an overview, but you have to identify your subject and your verb of your sentence and make sure that they agree in number, in gender, in tense. Sorry, not in tense, I was looking at verb error. In number and in gender. She like many fruits such as apples, oranges, and peaches. She is singular, so like should be likes because that is the singular, acceptable singular version of the verb. She likes. The purpose was. So even when you have a prepositional phrase in between your subject and your verb, you still need to make sure that the subject and the verb agree. The third example, neither the twins nor their cousin is coming to the party. We'll spend quite a bit of time looking at these pairs, neither nor, either or, and singular indefinite pronouns such as each, either, neither, somebody, someone, words like that, because we often say them incorrectly. So it's difficult to write them correctly when you don't hear them correctly. Finally, the last wrong example has an interrupter between the subject and the verb. So again, you've got to find your subject, car, and then make sure that your verb belongs, is in agreement with your subject. Moving on to verb errors, you want to make sure that your verbs are, your verbs agree as well. The runners have ran should be the runners have run. She dating him needs a helper. She is dating him, she was dating him, or she still dates him. I seen him is a past participle verb with no helping verb. I had seen him, or you can say I saw him. Yes. Verb tense is also a minor error. She helped me with my homework should be sorry, she helped me with my homework all day yesterday, or she helps me with my homework all day yesterday. You have to agree in tense. If you're talking about yesterday, you have to say helped me yesterday. Again, with verb tense, the movie started just as we take our seats. Started is past, take is present. So you have to make sure that verbs within your sentence as well as verbs within your paragraph are all in the same tense. Here you have a few examples of incorrect punctuation. We will talk quite a bit about comma errors, so I'll let you guys look over these examples. We have in punctuation, we have misplaced commas. The final example down there, grammar homework is boring, but it is necessary to pass this class, is just an example of a compound sentence, but you want to make sure that your comma is always in front of the conjunction. Here are minor errors with plural and possessives. These also get tricky with contractions as well, because we don't want to have contractions in formal writing. Jane's essay, if you are making a singular name possessive, you're going to add an apostrophe S. In the next example, her essay's main points, you do need an apostrophe because you are showing that the essay possesses those points. Jane and her brother are naturally talented writers. That's just plural. The writers are not possessing anything. And finally, the cat destroyed its two owners' shirts. You do not have an apostrophe with its because it is the possessive. Excuse me. Its, it apostrophe s, is a contraction, it is. And then two owners, you will put the apostrophe following plural owners because there are two of them. Minor error, misuse of pronouns. We will talk quite a bit of objective and subjective case. If you have the subject of the sentence, as you do in this first example, me and him do not work well together, your subject needs to be in the subjective case. So that would be he, she, and I. Their selves is not a word, and his self is not a word. So you would want to use themselves and himself in those examples. You always want to make sure that your pronoun and antecedents agree, especially in number. And I mentioned this before in terms of singular and definite pronouns. First, you'll say, some coaches think that screaming at a player will make them better. A player is one person, so your pronoun to rename that one person needs to be singular, him or her. In the final example, everybody is singularly every single body wants to make an A in their English composition class. That would need to be his or her. Again, this is the one minor error that I think needs a lot of work and noted review, because you're not likely to write it correctly the first time. Even I don't sometimes, because you hear it incorrectly so often. So these would just be one of those minor errors that I would just flag to myself to go back and review specifically for this, because you know that you have an inclination to do it to write it the way you hear it. Here are a few more pronoun antecedent disagreement. One of the parks needs its merry-go-round repaired. It's just one park, so it needs to be its instead of their. None of the pies were bought. It did not have enough sugar. If none of them were bought, then none of the collection was bought, so it should be they. Shift in person or point of view and using you is a minor error. You do not want to use second person, which is you, your, yours, at all in your formal writing, but you certainly don't want to combine it with a different person. So I, me, we is first person, and you can see that in the first incorrect example. I discovered that you could touch should be I discovered that I could touch. To succeed in college, you have to manage your time. You would want to change that to a person has to manage his or her time to get the you out of the sentence. And our final minor error we'll cover today is word choice or word confusion. There are quite a few commonly confused words, and I'll give you a list and give you later discussion in the modules. But one that in this example, they are THEIR driving to the beach. What the person is actually trying to say is there, THEY apostrophe RE. But because we don't use contractions in formal writing, that would be corrected as they are driving to the beach. The next example, the lottery is a really cool story. It is a sentence, but it doesn't tell us very much. Why is it really cool? That's just very bland word choice. So changing it to interesting but disturbing gives your reader much more insight into what you're trying to say. Also, don't forget that spelling is a major error, is a minor error. So you want to be sure that you have reviewed your work and not just depended on the spell check in Word, but you've actually reviewed your work to be sure that your spelling is correct.